All right, folks, welcome to the July 17th meeting of the New Hampshire Network Energy Working Group. We've got kind of small attendance and a short agenda today, depending on what we want to talk about. And I queued up, is anyone trying out the Sea Pacer opportunities? And we'll talk about that. And then a little discussion on maybe what the New Hampshire budget might mean for any initiatives, energy initiatives, and what the passage of the BBB at the federal level might mean. And does anybody else have any other topics they want to cover? Yes, Mark.
I've been hitting on you guys to help us out with an energy fair in
Hmm.
September in Atkinson.
Well, that's right.
And I just stumbled over my own shoelaces and I'm working on it. And I'm going around the town. I'm taking pictures of the telephone poles that have the street lamps on them so we can have a database of all the places. And I think maybe one of the things I'm going to do is basically say, here's a database. If your light's burnt out or if it's not working right, you can call us in. We had replaced all the lamps in 2022 with LEDs. So I think that's one thing that I'm going to add to that. But if anyone has any other ideas about things that we can do at a pavilion when we're having Atkinson Day, we'd appreciate it.
Okay, may as well talk about that right now. So is it going to be outside? It sounds like it's outside in a pavilion.
And it will be September. We'll have a pavilion, but it's going to have, it's basically our recreational field. And it's going to be all sorts of Atkinson Day activities. There'll be a 5K and there'll be music and there'll be food and there'll be plenty of reasons for people to come down there.
Okay.
I guess I would take the opportunity to check with Sarah about the model solar uh,
Yeah, the
legislative
ordinance. Yeah.
package.
Well,
Yeah.
that'd be awesome. That would be awesome.
Yep. We can put that on there.
Was it like a couple of panels and the inverter and things?
This has more to do with permitting.
No, I wish I
Oh,
had a model. That would be amazing. Like an actual tangible physical solar model.
I,
Put that
I've
on the
been
list for
I've
next
been
time.
I've been talking to the people over at Hooray, is that how they like to
Hmm.
say it?
I
Yeah.
was just going to say
Yeah.
the
And
same.
they
Yeah,
have great
exactly.
permitting models, but it's all for Eversource, and we are in Unitil
Mm.
territory.
Uh,
Yeah.
So
so there is
yeah.
a
I like that
event,
suggestion, Mary Beth.
there is an event happening in the whole state and actually the whole country uh, promoting solar, and it's being called Sun Day on September 21st. And if there's anybody that has nice models of solar, that would be an awesome thing to find out about and include in that event.
Oh yeah, that's a good lead. I'm gonna check that one out. Thanks,
Mark,
Phil.
Mark, I'm also your ECR in for the Seacoast, and I would be happy to get you some handouts or things that you could have for there to
That'd
hand
be a great
out.
help. We love to
Yeah,
have something in people's hands. Absolutely.
perfect.
Right. So I'm putting in the chat the link to the Sun Day that's sponsored by Third Act. And I also
Okay.
put in the chat the suggestion to, if you haven't already, download the ISO to Go app on your phone. And I know it's small on your phone, but maybe you can cast your phone to a laptop if you have electric source there and show people as they're walking by. For example, do you have any idea where your electricity is coming from? Like right now, it's, I don't know, like 50% natural gas and 19% nuclear and stuff like that. And there's a bunch of other fun graphs on ISO to Go, like the price map, and the demand chart. You probably can't, there's, yeah, it's showing you when is the peak demand, and the peak demand has been around 7 p.m. lately. And most people think it's like, in the middle of the day, but peak demand has been at 7. And you could talk about that's when people come home from work and, turn on their electric stove and stuff. Anyway, I've been posting some screenshots from ISO to Go in my town Facebook group lately, and some people have been really interested. It's like, oh, I never thought about that. And like yesterday was a wicked peak day, and I was encouraging people to, um, conserve. And I did 3 screenshots of the price map about how the price went up from like $91 to 137 per megawatt hour in like 7 minutes, you know? And I was like, just don't microwave anything, you know. Anyway,
On the
that's
other hand, whatever you did was successful because the day ahead price added over $400.
yeah.
So it never got any, about only to about half, well, less than half that. The other source you can have for your tabletop computers, I usually use it on my phone, is ISO Express, ISO NE Express.
Oh, what does that do?
It's same thing.
Oh, okay.
It's
Oh,
just
it's
a
on a
slightly
desktop.
different
Okay.
format. And one of the important pieces on it that's fairly recent is on the load graph that they have. They present the day ahead assumptions and other information. But one of the tabs that you can click is the behind the meter solar assumptions that they use.
Are you seeing
And
the ISO
that
Express
tells you
screen?
what the load would have been if the solar that people have that are not part of the ISO calculations, or at least not part of the market, would have been. And the load is quite a few megawatts higher, and shows what the load, the rise in load, even without, one of the arguments against solar is that, yeah, it reduces the daytime power, but then you get that evening spike. And if you look at the curves, you notice that the morning rise is much faster if than the evening rise if the solar is not there.
Hmm.
It also shows the functioning of the another tab is the pump storage. On what you're seeing, if you look at the um, upper right, left rather, you have the colored tabs. The two lower tab, the lower orange or yellow tab, if you touch that, will bring up the assumed um, output of behind the meter solar, which does not go into their measurements where they talk about percentage of renewables or any of that. That does not show up there. During the day, a good quarter of our power can easily be coming from solar. When the curve that you see on the right, lower right there, the round circle, shows a relatively small amount of renewable. It can be a whole lot higher if you take into account the behind the meter solar, which is not part of those calculations.
Right. Right. Okay.
Were
I'll
you
stop
able
sharing
to?
now.
I can't see from here if you got the on that, if you were able to get the behind the meter solar tab to work.
I don't think so. No.
You have to click on the or touch if you've got a touchpad, the lower yellowish kind of button on the side, and that'll bring up.
I'm not seeing what you're talking about, so maybe we should just move on.
Okay, in that curve, well, in the upper left curve that you had up, there are a number of tabs on the side that describe what they are, what each of the curves is. And if one is bright and you touch it, it will go dim and disappear, and you can select what curves you want to see.
Oh, the yellow here might be the actual, including estimated behind the meter solar. Yep, I clicked on the
Exactly.
yellow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you
When
can
you
see how
touch
much
that, you
higher it
see
is.
that
Yeah.
when
Okay.
the
Yeah.
sun's shining, it is a very large part of our load that would have been there if that weren't there. And in fact, dramatically reduces the daytime peak. The other numbers that are on that sheet are the carbon emissions. If you go down about 3 or 4 on the left one, I'm working from
Estimated
memory.
CO2 emissions. Yep,
Yeah,
right here.
the critical piece there is that to note that when it says tons and you're showing a rate, it has to be tons per something. And in fact, what that number is tons per minute.
Wow, that's pretty scary. Tons per minute. Yeah.
Yeah. And only if you go to the information part of that do you find out that that's what it means. But
Interesting.
that's a lot of
Okay.
tons.
All right. So those are two ways to get at the ISO to go stuff. I'm going to stop sharing now if I can find the stop sharing button.
I think
And any other,
I think you already found that button.
I think I did now that I
yeah.
realized. So sorry about that, folks. Any other suggestions for Mark? I was wondering, I have kids and they made a potato clock once that used potatoes to generate electricity. If you've got something like that, something that might be more fun for kids, to get the kids to stop by and then the parents stop with the kids or whatever. I have no idea how much one of those potato clocks is, and we long ago threw ours away. Um, but
Well, it
that's,
does make me think about the New Hampshire Energy Education Project. They, especially if you had a little bit of budget to throw at them, they've got educators based in New Hampshire and they've got all manner of little touch and show and interactive stuff. And they table at various things. But you should reach out and just find out. They would charge you if they have any ideas, if they can't come out themselves, they might be great. So that's
Oh,
New Hampshire Energy
that'd be
Education.
ideal. Someone who has a dog and pony act, so to speak, would be willing to come in and
yeah.
present. Yeah, that'd be worth
Yeah,
a few dollars for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
What was the name of the group again?
The group is called the New Hampshire, I'll put a link in the chat, the New Hampshire Energy Education um,
Okay.
Project. They're incredible. They're mostly in schools and doing teacher trainings around the state, sort of a best kept secret.
Thank you.
So this is them. They're they're nested on their parent organization is Vermont Energy Education Program, and the New Hampshire side came later. And that particular person, you could reach out to Aubrey. She's someone that Katrina and I know. She's actually married to the executive director of Clean Energy New Hampshire.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
but there's her email address, and she's one of the educators that travels around, and she would know who to connect you with, or would be the person herself.
And I've learned to take notes out of the chat.
Yes, 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 yes.
Mhm.
One thing on the issue of going back to the earlier discussion about permitting is that we should keep an eye on what's happening in Europe. If my memory is correct, in Germany, if you're putting in a very small solar system, that is to say a half a kilowatt, you don't need a license. And in fact, you don't need anybody to do it. They're usually called balcony solar, where if you're in a high rise with a balcony, you hang the panels off your balcony, run two wires to a box, and a plug from that plugs into the wall, just like any other appliance. And now you're generating electricity.
That's pretty cool.
Um,
That sounds similar, right? So my husband and I have a camper and we have solar panels for our camper, and we've got friends who've got solar panels for our campers. And of course, we don't need any permits or anything for that. And I'm not an electrician or anything, but my husband has a master's degree in electrical engineering from UNH, and I go to him once in a while. Well, when we come home from camping, can't we just like plug those solar panels in the house? And he sort of rolls his eyes and like it's a lot more complicated than that.
Well, some
yeah.
people say that's what your dryer plug is for.
Well, in
Some
this
people,
case,
Because
some
it's the
people backfeed
220.
through their dryer plug for that.
Well, and if I
in
have
this,
a charging plug in my car, then that should work as well, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
well, the issue here is
has
that
to be bi-directional.
Right,
yeah,
right.
the
Yeah.
inverter has to be designed in a way that has the protective functions in it for grid connect. Your camper inverter is not really connectable to the grid. But you can buy inverters that are grid tie inverters that are very small, and all they do is plug into any socket in the wall.
Hmm. Hmm. Will they cut out if the energy on the other side cuts out?
What's that?
Will
Yeah,
they
when the light,
shut down the feed if the external grid supply shuts down?
they automatically disconnect. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
what.
that's a safety feature. Yeah,
Yeah, you have to have an anti-islanding feature in it so that you will not get power out of it to power your appliances when the lights go out.
right.
But when the lights are on, it just automatically synchronizes and connects. And where if you go to Amazon, you can buy panels for $50. I've got a bifacial that I got for 50. You can buy bidirectional, or you can buy grid tie inverters for $100. And if you're looking for a small one for a panel size, they're less than $100. And many of those are set up to be directly plugged into the wall. And many of them also, since they're Chinese, do have the UL, not UL, the various performance requirements supposedly have been met. But they have all of the protective functions built in. Some are set up so that you can use a battery with it. So your solar charges the battery through a battery charge control, and then you can control how much power comes out of it and when to go into the system. And some of them, even because the European utilities like solar as much as ours do, um, some have, if you put power back on the grid, you pay for it as if you just bought it. And so they have current sensors that you clip on your service, and if power tries to go backwards, it automatically reduces the amount of power coming out of your battery to go to the grid. And you can time it so that you can have the power when you want it.
You
And
know,
it'll,
at least in Unitil territory, it's great to feed power back to the grid, but unless you have the upgrade for a two-way meter, you don't get credit for it. And the only difference between what I have on the side of my house and a smart meter is the firmware. It's the same hardware. They just changed the firmware.
yeah. And in this case, in Europe, they go a little step further. Is not just that you don't get credit, you actually pay to put the power on the wire at the normal price, retail price. They don't like you to do
You
that.
get paid. You get
No,
paid.
you pay them
You,
to put
okay.
power on the wire. But the issue is that no permits are required up to a half kilowatt in some territories. No
Here,
permits, no
it's like
nothing.
here, take my electrons, please, and here's a couple of bucks to go with it. That's Europe.
That's some parts of Europe if you don't have the agreement otherwise.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
But you are allowed to, in some parts of Europe, to go up to a half a kilowatt, which means you could go to a much larger solar panel charging batteries and then discharge your battery up to a half a kilowatt when you want to.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you get an agreement, then you can, of course, go much bigger.
Mhm.
But the issue is that the technical connection of smaller solar systems is relatively simple and safe. The problem is that interconnection, as you get any bigger, gets to be a real pain.
And the painful part starts at how many kilowatts?
Uh, well, you can usually get up to 10 kilowatts with no trouble from a house. If you try to do a community level thing, you may wait a year or two.
Okay.
And the problem there is that the interconnection that most utilities like to do is to require you to make the assumption that your capacity will be there, um, overloading their system at the worst possible time, and therefore, if that makes for a problem on the system, you pay for the upgrade to the system. Of course, the other alternative would say, here, you can connect, but you may not always be able to put your power on the grid if the voltage is too high or something like that. And that type of alternative is only beginning to be explored. And that allows for much easier connection, but it's also makes for difficulty if you're trying to finance a large system, because then you may be cut off and curtailed more frequently than you would like. And since you're investing it, or you're putting it in to make money, that's not always nice. But it would reduce the interconnection issues to a much, much smaller problem. Just to basically require that everybody be well behaved,
Okay.
technically.
Should we move on? I know we've got lots of other things folks wanted to chat about.
I will reduce my interactions at this point.
You don't have to. We just
All
won't
right.
be shy about saying maybe we should move on.
Yeah, it's
So
time to move on. I think I have enough leads. My head's full on that. So thank you.
Yeah.
Good. You're welcome.
Are you seeing my New Hampshire CPACE program screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. I don't know anything about this program other than what I
Hmm.
just read today from this website. So do any of you guys have any information or thoughts about this CPACE financing where commercial people can get loans and assistance for stuff like solar and other energy efficient stuff in their commercial buildings?
I have some notes, but I mean, Mark, Bill, or Penty, do you have anything that you're jumping to say about this first?
I don't have
No,
anything.
Okay, that was a
Yeah.
nose all around. So I think, Mary Beth, we should, well, for one thing, we should very much put a pin in this and circle back. What my team has is a whole stack of draft documents related to this program that were sent to us by the Building Finance Authority, which is the entity that's been charged with hosting this program. CPACE, the concept of commercial property assessed clean energy, is not new. There are plenty of other states that have adopted something like this, and it's been in the discussion of what we might do in New Hampshire for years. This is the first time it's actually come to be. And traditionally, it's something that the municipalities themselves have to have a pretty heavy lift in. The way that New Hampshire oriented it, it's the heavy lift is being centralized with the Building Finance Authority. And the reason that municipalities have to be involved in the traditional model and still have to be involved in this model is that the idea is it's property assessed clean energy. So there's financial details that I'm not going to go into today that tie the loan to the property, so it stays with the property, it doesn't stay with the property owner. And there's some benefits to that in terms of being able to spread the cost of that over a longer period, get better rates, and just make those projects allow those projects to access more competitive financing. And there's a whole lot of technical reasons why that financing is more attractive than some of the other financing that a big housing project that's got an energy efficiency component might otherwise be able to access. So there's a whole component of that structure. The piece that as energy committees is relevant is that in order for projects to be able to access this kind of creative funding mechanism, which conceptually should be able to make it more attractive and more possible to build energy efficient buildings in the commercial and housing space, towns have to approve what's called a PACE district in order for that to be even technically feasible within the town. And so there's a bit of an administrative hurdle that has to be left over before someone in your town could build a building and take advantage of that financing. Clean Energy New Hampshire has been approached by BFA to be the entity that helps communities understand this program and then get those districts approved so that you could take advantage of that in your community if you had developers building and you wanted them to be able to access it. This program was approved during this legislative session. The draft documents only hit my desk a couple of weeks ago. We're right now in contracting talks with BFA, so my team has not yet jumped on this, and we are not prepared to answer questions about it. But within the next couple of months, you can
Okay, yeah, so we should
assume that
maybe
Clean
in two
Energy New
months.
Hampshire is going to be coming out with here's what this is, here's how to get it approved,
Yeah.
here's why, here's your talking points, and our job is effectively to handhold you through that process. So more coming, but that's,
Okay.
I mean, from our perspective, this is a somewhat of a no-brainer. It's effectively no risk for the municipalities, and all it does is create a new financing mechanism that is accessible to people who want to build in your communities, but it doesn't do a whole lot more than that. So I'll stop there. But does that help a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, because my biggest question was, right, as an energy committee, we're not building commercial buildings,
Right.
and so far we've talked about things like putting solar panels on the library. So I'm like, well, what does the commercial buildings have to do with an
Yeah.
energy committee, a municipal energy committee? But you kind of answered that, and that is if we want, in my case, I'm in the Merrimack Energy Committee.
Mm.
If we want any commercial property in our town to take advantage of this, we have to basically kind of zone for it. Is that what I heard?
Yeah, and I'll have more details for you when we dive
Okay.
in and we sort of give
Sure,
the
sure.
towns the
Yeah.
here's what it is. But it'll be something that has to go to town meeting effectively. You'll have to have a vote on
Okay.
the
Well, then
creation of this
that's
district, and there's like a
directly in the
That's
template
purview
document.
of,
Yeah,
okay, right.
Yeah,
The
yeah,
it's a
energy committee.
district. You have to vote on a
yeah,
district for
yeah,
for whatever, like Hampton Beach has a downtown business
yeah.
district that's just for there.
And the
And
district will effectively be the whole town, but you still have
it
to
could
create
be,
the district in order for this mechanism to be possible within said district.
but for this mechanism, you could just assign it for what you already have zoned for industrial or whatever, commercial.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense because this the program is designed for those types of
Right, right.
yeah,
Otherwise, the whole town, some people will think it's
right.
overreach, yeah.
All
That's
right.
fair.
So
Yeah.
this is
And this
terrific
is
to
all details
hear.
that I am trusting that BFA is gonna train us up and we'll be able to sort of walk folks through. But
All
the
right.
the thing for
Yeah.
energy
And
committees is to be thinking ahead to the town meeting uh
absolutely.
schedule. Like
Right.
when do you need to be getting information so you can start talking to the select board and get people comfortable so you can get that vote approved.
Okay. So we will definitely queue up Clean Energy New Hampshire
And
when
kind
it's
of as
exactly
soon
you
as
said. I don't know.
we get the green light from BFA that like we've got what we need to be go, I will bring it to the very next one of these, and we'll probably have, outside of these monthly meetings, you can bet that we'll be reaching out and having a series of webinars and office hours and support, sort of like you saw us do with the recent Soul Smart
Hmm.
solar planning. We'll be launching a similar kind of cohort-ish, but more just very wide open programming for any community that's interested in trying to tackle CPACER as part of their next town meeting cycle and helping you do that all together at the same time so we can kind of learn from each other's questions and bumps along the way.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Terrific. Okay. Um, and the other two things I had were just really open-ended questions about, what does the New Hampshire budget mean for any energy
Mhm.
initiatives, and what does the passage of the BBB mean? I know
Yeah.
I will say for Merrimack, we we thought we had a grant. I'm not quite sure exactly what federal agency it was from because I wasn't on the grant subcommittee to put solar panels on our town barn, our town garage, I guess is the official term. And
Mhm.
now everything is all held up and we're not sure if we're going to get the money or not. And so that also means that in any of our other conversations about exploring solar, like when we go to the town and talk about putting solar on our
Yeah.
filled over landfill, they're kind of like, we're not talking, we've had bad experience, we've had the runaround, we're not put the kibosh on
What
all
was
that.
that grant? Do you know? I would love to know what you're hung
I
up
will
in.
have to ask Leo. Leo LaViolette is the guy
Okay.
who's in charge of it.
Would you follow up with
Who
me?
works for
Because
the
I
town.
really would like to
Yeah.
know what you're getting hung up
Okay.
on. Okay.
So that my energy committee is kind of like, well, we're bummed because it
Yeah.
feels like we're not going to be able to push any kind of solar anymore. So what do we want to do other than, I mean, and
Yeah.
our biggest win was button-up workshops. Well, New Hampshire Saves doesn't necessarily have any more money either. So we're
Yeah.
kind of going, oh,
Yeah.
what should we do now?
And honestly, to that, I will say you're not alone. We are getting those calls a lot these days. I just popped in the chat a summary that Doug, our coworker who's not here today, put together this week. Just trying to make sense of the tax credits because part one of the roles of the energy committee is going to be to just help make sure that relevant projects are aware of their deadlines in terms of being able to take advantage of tax credits. And knowing what that is. So that's there if you'd like to see it. That's not a final draft, but the information there's in there is good. We just haven't posted it anywhere formally yet. Um, the other is that my team is thinking very hard about those questions of, well, what do we do in this moment? And our plan at the moment, we're just, at the moment, we're trying to get our heads around it, but we've talked about and are working on putting together as a bit of a consulting sheet that we'll be sending around to everyone. Like, here's the programs that definitely don't exist anymore, and here's some things that actually might be coming down the pike. So you might want to be
Mhm.
getting X and Y projects together. For example, we heard whisperings of a program using some of the VW money to actually stand up a level 2 charging grant program. And that, we don't really know what that looks like or how real that might be, but that's the sort of thing that all of our committees really ought to be aware of, so that you can be thinking about, well, if we were going to do level 2 charging, here's where it would go, and let's have the conversation about whether that's something we might want to go after if that grant program comes to be. And the status of the municipal solar grant program through the DOE. We're sort of actively tracking that and trying to make sure that everyone's aware. So we're compiling a list of what are all the things that energy committees can be working on, and which ones are viable right now and which ones is everyone sort of having to put in the back burner. Also, more education about the financing options that maybe we haven't touched in a while, but are certainly relevant. There's a lot of communities that have relied on grants, but in a world where you don't have as many grants, we might be talking more performance contracts, power purchase. I mean, back to sort of a pre-2020 world, but we get a lot of projects done then too. It's just sort of re-educating ourselves in how to get the money together to do some of this work. So we should just try to all do it together and avoid having each energy committee reinventing this whole existential conversation alone.
Sarah, I have,
Mark,
yeah, thank you. I have a little bit of input on that, because what I
yeah,
hear you
please.
talk about is, it sounds like that's the perfect input to your master plan in the town.
Right?
Because I think what
Yeah.
happens if it's not in the master plan, it gets thrown off the table.
Hmm.
You can't just come to the selectmen and say, here's a great idea. They'll say, is it in the master plan? Well, put
Yeah.
it in the master, yeah, and that waits
Yeah.
5 years or so. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Agreed. And we were talking about that last week. That we just got through this solar zoning cohort. And out of that, we're going, geez, we really need to brush up on how we help towns with master planning. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's a topic. It's just something we've been hesitant to dive full on into because we're not professional planners. But to your point, it's really critical that any of you that are in a master planning process have the tools you need to try to insert language that helps you then do projects later on.
Absolutely. Like, for example, it'd be just as easy as to say, if you're going to build a new municipal building,
Right?
orient the roof for
Yeah.
solar.
Yeah. Basic stuff. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. But I think all the more reason why these monthly calls are going to be more and more important. And to that point, Mary Beth, the quick update on that, we had this wonderful brainstorm session last month, and we sent a big call out. We got a bunch of people. That was
I
wonderful.
answered your survey.
You did. Thank you. And since then, we've got this survey out that went out, I think, yesterday. I think some of you would have seen it. We were trying to get one person from each town to fill it out, and then we'll be sort of reporting back. So we're going to have that contact list. My team's also going to be starting in the fall, really leaning in to make these monthly meetings well known and organized, and we'll have some more of the cohort style programming coming out on topics like CPACER and other things where there's just a lot of us doing the same thing all at once, like figuring out the creative financing, or even, we've talked about having some sessions where we all kind of puzzle through master planning, the folks who are in that process right now, because there's a handful around the state. So we're being really thoughtful about it, and would love just continuing feedback from any of you that keep showing up to these monthly meetings about how you can leverage the fact that CENH has a bit of staff capacity, which is more than, I mean,
Yeah.
you guys are all
And I'm
volunteers.
just I'm hoping that the low attendance today is because it's summertime maybe.
Yeah.
And
We
not
also didn't really
all
push
the
it.
other energy committees
Yeah.
are throwing up their hands and saying,
Yeah.
oh, forget it. It's not worth even trying to be an energy committee.
No. I think because we didn't invite them. Like, I didn't send out a message saying, hey, we're having a monthly meeting and it's going to be about X. We just kind of let it happen,
Yeah.
which is somewhat intentional on my end because I knew we were still getting organized on the back end, trying to get the survey out.
One thought that comes to mind that we should keep in mind for any of the planning processes is the battery issue.
I know. Yeah.
We have to remember that as we build as much solar as we need, we're going to have enormous surpluses in the summer. And if we don't start looking at the storage question really seriously, even at the home level. That's going to be a problem. Ultimately, we need to be able to integrate it with how the system's working, but we're some distance from that. But
Yeah.
it's kind of like the car to grid kinds of situations. The batteries that I might have in my home ultimately have to be integrated with the grid operation so that they're supportive of the grid. But the whole issue of batteries is still that in some areas, some jurisdictions, they're not even allowed.
Hmm.
So we need to be, persistent with that and be, get the safety issues particularly resolved. And
Yep.
we're not quite there yet. I mean, the lithium iron phosphate batteries are quite safe, but separating them from other lithium batteries is most people don't know the difference.
Oh, I had a
And,
comment for you, Penty, because I
yep.
think I just realized that you can't see the chat. I wanted to give you my email in case you did want to follow up about that Linux load on your system. It's my last name, Ellison, Ellison, at IEEE.org. That's an I followed by 3 E's.org.
I'm sorry, I missed what you were saying.
Oh, I was giving you my email address because I realized that you can't see in chat.
I can.
Oh, you can. Okay, I dropped it in there for you.
Okay, let me see what you got. The last thing I've got here says changes in tax credits.
No, I sent this directly to you. I can send it again. It was pretty
Oh,
early.
would that be on the list of for this meeting?
I
Probably
don't.
not because it was directly to you. He was just giving you his email so he could help you with Linux.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm
here
not
I'm
sure
putting
that
on.
I see that.
Oops, no, it's the wrong thing. Oh yeah, no, I got it up there for everyone.
That
Can you?
worked. Yep, I see it. So I'm
Okay,
sure that Penty sees it.
okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Perfect.
well, we'll see what we can do with it.
Oh yeah,
That's awesome.
I have reasonable rates. Barter information for information.
Perfect.
I had not thought, so Bill Coder, because you are, I'm assuming that because you're involved with Third Act, that you're going to try to get New Hampshire to be active in Sunday. And it may or may not be something that energy committees feel appropriate encouraging their energy committee to participate in. But do you want to share with us now some of the ideas you've got in case, even if our energy committee doesn't fully endorse it, I could share with my friends?
Yeah, actually, I just attended a meeting yesterday with Sam Evans Brown. We had a bit of a conversation about um, the Sunday. Um, it would be great if energy committees were to get involved with promoting this event. It's really a national event. There's a website um, beyond what you put in the chat. Um, I don't know it off the top of my head, but the main themes of Sunday are about education for presumably a large segment of the population that we can potentially reach regarding the benefits of solar. And to some degree, it's a celebration of the fact that solar is financially so attractive from an operating cost perspective now. And some of the discussion is also leaning towards wanting to get um, kind of a workforce development aspect to some of the Sunday activities, getting the electricians union and whoever might be on the sort of the blue collar end of installing solar panels. So I think the challenge for this bigger celebration is we all tend to be in our own bubbles of people that are on calls like this, all are well behind solar, but that's how are we going to get contacts out in the community to create the curiosity, the awareness of the advantages of going solar. So certainly anybody that has an energy committee could be involved in, to some degree, promoting at the town level, trying to get the community to be able to participate in some activities. The main third act activity was going to be in Concord. There's also an event in Keene and in Peterborough. And beyond that, this is an open invitation for a lot of different groups to potentially sponsor something in their own towns or, in, again, maybe some of the regions. We don't have anybody on the seacoast that's plugged in as yet. North Country is always a challenge. And we will be looking for anybody that has kind of a good news. Here's what we did with solar in our town, and here's how much money was saved. I know Sarah's provided some examples in the past. I think the Peterborough group ended up getting to Sam and Sarah before a few other teams did, but I'm on a group of about 4 of our third act, a small coordinating committee that is going to be looking primarily at this event in Concord. But I'd like to send out some information. I did include you, Mary Beth, on some of the things that we're going to the New Hampshire network.
Okay, thank you.
And I think also, it's an opportunity for educating community members about the advantages that would accrue to them if their towns did have good zoning principles and inspection processes. So those are things that energy committees, no doubt, would have some involvement with. And hence my question earlier about Clean Energy New Hampshire having gone through a cycle of coming up with a model legislative package that I think would be good to learn more about.
Yeah. Bill, I want to make sure I know what you're referring to. You said model legislative package this time around. When you said model earlier, I was thinking you might be talking about the model
Oh,
solar zoning ordinance we had just released.
yeah, the
Wh-
zoning ordinance, right?
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and briefly, since you asked, the short story is that New Hampshire had a model solar zoning ordinance that was drafted in 2018 by Clay Mitchell, and it was, my organization that he did that for, and a lot of communities adopted it. And there's no one on staff here who was on staff then, and it was sort of gathering dust, and there were pieces of it that were quite out of date, particularly the way that it was oriented was based on total capacity of the system. And of course, solar panels keep getting more efficient. And so some of those numbers and cutoffs were just out of date and sort of didn't
Yeah.
line up with our current solar reality. And there was some pressure to update it, but our team didn't have the expertise. And so we partnered with SolSmart, which is this national program that's supported by a couple of different nonprofits and funded by the Department of Energy at the national level. And they have a designation program where they allow communities to become bronze, silver, gold, or platinum designated, SolSmart designated. And it's just a big checklist of all sorts of things that you can do in a local political subdivision to make solar to encourage solar and sort of remove barriers to solar. And so they designed a little cohort and we've been running it and we just quasi finished it and we're going to sort of announce all the folks that got designated at our local energy solutions conference in September. And
Okay.
as part of that partnership with them to move people through the designation process to get that lowest tier of designation, that was in part selfishly to slowly gain the expertise we needed to update that ordinance. And many of the communities that enrolled and have been working with us towards designation are doing so in preparation for adopting the ordinance. So we've just published it in the last like 3 weeks, and it's been the product of a whole lot of conversation. But I can link to it in the chat. So I've got it here somewhere, and it's ready to go. And we are running a workshop about it next Thursday, and I can also put that information into the chat for you, so you can attend if you wish. It'll also be recorded, but that's we'll be briefly sort of giving a here it is, here's the sections, and then it'll be a whole lot of Q&A and discussion with towns who are specifically trying to figure out how to adapt it to what their community needs. So that's happening next Thursday at noon.
All right. Thank you. I'm glad I asked.
Yeah.
All right. I think this might be a wrap with 4 whole minutes to go.
I'm just pulling the information about the SolSmart event for you, or the model solar ordinance event for you.
Yeah, we'll wait for that to go. Oh, there we go. It's in the chat now, and I will not
And there's
shut
one more thing coming, so don't close the Zoom until I get it in there for folks. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Get that copies over for you. Yep, there you go. So feel free to grab that.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right then, folks. I will, if the recording worked this month, I will make the recording available and I get the saved chat and I will post the chat and the AI summary if that worked as well. So nice to virtually meet you, Penty, and nice to see the rest of you. And we'll talk to you the third Thursday at 3 in August.
And Penty, what town are you in? I don't think I caught that from you. Hope you're muted if you're trying to tell us. Still muted. That's okay. You'll remain a mystery.
All right.
Well, I'll
I
hang
can't,
out in
I
case he
can't
figures it
unmute
out.
him.
But otherwise, great to see you all.
All right. All right. See you next month, folks. Take care. All right.
Bye.
Bye-bye.